There's anyone who knows a thing or two about a good brew, it is the former president of Starbucks North America, Howard Behar. But he's not joining us today to talk about the secret to the perfect pumpkin spice latte. Welcome, Howard. I'm so happy to have you in our studio today. We're talking about leadership.
Right.
Yes, and so you have this book. It is called Beyond the Brew, and servant leadership is such a huge theme throughout the book. Tell me what that means before we get into it.
Well, the basic concepts of servant leadership is that we as a leader are here to serve before we get served. So our job is to grow the people as human beings, grow them as professionals, and then help them achieve their goals. And when you do that well, then you're serving your people.
I love that, and that starts with the heart as well.
Starts absolutely with the heart, not the brain.
And before accepting the role as the president, you actually served alongside some colleagues in a drive-through Starbucks. Can you tell me about that experience and what you learned?
Well, I actually worked for free for a week before I started work at Starbucks because I wanted to know what it was like. I wanted to know how it felt to be part of this coffee company. And after that first week, I fell in love, and then I was there for 21 years.
When did you first learn the importance of having servant leadership?
I was in my late 20s when one of my most important mentors gave me a pamphlet by a man named Robert Greenleaf called The Leader as Servant. And that began my journey to become a conscious competent about servant leadership. I'm still learning today, and I'm 79 years old.
Yeah. What do you think the benefit of that is? Because there are very different types of leaders in different environments, maybe high-paced or maybe even the more relaxed environments. But what do you think the benefit is of having someone who is a giver and who shows, hey, I'm not going to have you do something that I can't do myself?
Well, there's only one reason any of us are put on this earth, and that's to serve other human beings. So when you internalize that as a leader, then it changes how you see the people that you work with. You don't see them as assets, but you see them as human beings. And once you start doing that, then you care about them, they care about you, and it becomes a culture of caring.
How effective is it?
It's totally effective. I mean, I can give you all the examples. You've had great companies here in Texas. Whole Foods was a servant-led company when John Mackey was there. The Container Store, which is part of Texas, both servant-led companies, and people love to go to work there.
Yeah. You know, I think it's so powerful when we look at the different models of leadership, and I'm curious to know, is being a servant leader, does that kind of break the mold of the typical industry standards or what the expectation would usually be for someone in a powerful role?
I think that we see it as breaking the mold, but I think there are more and more companies that are being led by servant leaders. And you see it happening everywhere, and you can't hide anymore. With the internet, if you're a jerk, it's gonna come out right away. You're a jerk, you know?
It sure is.
Yeah.
What are some tips that you can give? Because I want to get hands-on. I feel like I'm absorbing some information, and I know our viewers are at home as well. What are some tips that you can share that could help us start that process of becoming better servant leaders?
Well, one of my favorite quotes is catch people doing the right things right instead of catching people doing the wrong things wrong. That was from Spencer Johnson from The 1 Minute Manager, an very old book. But when you start to see people as human beings and not as assets or not as employees, it changes how you think about them and how you treat them. It changes how your conversation goes. You may have to let somebody go from the company, but you always do it with love in your heart because they're still a whole human being.
Yeah, that is beautiful. And you do have this event coming up as well. I believe we shared information on the screen, so you guys can come out to a breakfast event where you'll be sharing more about your book, and you'll be talking about servant leadership and getting to really connect with people. Howard, thank you so much for being on our show this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.